Welcome back. In this step, let's write a unit test for the deleteById method. One of the things which we did earlier is to call repository.deleteById in the demo application class. Actually, it's not good to keep modifying data in here, so I'll delete this from here. So I'm deleting the delete method in here. So the data would be as it is, which is present in the data.sql. All the rows would be present when we execute the JUnit test. So now I would go and write the method for delete. So I'm copying the method for find by ID. What we would want to do is delete by ID basic. So delete by ID, I would want to delete by ID. So let's do that. Delete by ID. Once you delete the row, instead of 10,001, let's use 10,002. So if I'm deleting 10,002, what should be the consequence? How can I test it? What would this do? This would delete the row from the database. So this will delete the course with an ID 10,002 from the database. How can I check whether it's worked or not? How can I write a unit test for that? I can check it by trying to retrieve that value back and seeing that it is null. So what I'll do is I'll say repository.findById 10,002. I would check that is null. So I would want to check that this is null. How do I do that? Assert null. JUnit has this assert null method, which would be helpful in checking whether something is null. So if you have an error on assert null, just do Control+1 or Command+1 and do a static import of it. That's it. So what we are doing in here is very simple, right? We started with deleting the delete which was done in here. So the run method was deleting the row. So I removed the delete from there. I would want to actually write a unit test for it right now. So I went to the delete by ID basic method. We call the delete and check that that particular thing does not exist now. So let's run this. Right click, run as JUnit test. You can see that the unit test has succeeded. That's cool. And now when I go to the log, I can see that the delete query is fired. So the delete query is fired with the ID as 10,002, and then the select query is fired. The select query does not come back with any details as such. So it does not come back with any details. So what happens? It would come back as null and the unit test would succeed. One of the important things about this particular unit test is this unit test is changing the data which is present. When we write unit tests, we would want to leave the state of the application as it was before running that unit test. So because this is modifying the state of the system, state of the data that we are having, what I would need to do is I would need to put an annotation called dirties context. So I just need to say dirties context and import it in. What would happen is after this test is run, Spring would automatically reset the data. After the test is run, Spring would reset the data so that for the other tests, the data has not changed at all. Think about this scenario. Let's say I'm getting the value of 10,002 in here. Let's say the name here we are checking for is the name for 10,002. If this test deletes that data and this test is dependent on that data to be available, this test would fail even though there is no problem with the code. What is happening is this test is deleting that data, so this test is not able to find it. That's not a good situation to be in with your unit test. That's the reason why we need to put an add dirties context. What Spring would do is it would execute this test, it would make sure that everything is fine. Okay, delete is working fine, and it would reset the data to whatever it was before this test. And that would ensure that this system is in a consistent state for the other tests as well. In this step, what we did is we wrote a simple unit test to be able to delete 10,002, and we check that after deleting the 10,002 does not exist. Until the next step, bye bye.